I don't really think companies can ignore the buyer journey and all the trends that are surfacing right now. As selling organizations, we are trying to bring our products and services to market. And the only way you make that transition is if someone actually buys something. So it's really important that we understand what are the things that they need to do in order to buy that. But more importantly, we have to understand the conditions that they're currently operating in. And all of the research is saying buyers feel like we're not giving enough value. And there's been some research that was done by Korn Ferry, who are a big sort of global people operations organization. And they found that about 79% of buyers stay away from salespeople until they've clarified their needs. So they're saying, I don't really need to get anything from you right now until I understand my issues and my challenges and my opportunities that are in front of me. And then Gartner, everyone knows Gartner is a big sort of like technology and IT and research organization. And they're saying actually about 33% of buyers don't want any involvement from reps at all. They're saying, I want a rep-free experience because they're quite annoying and I can't really trust them. And then when we go even further and we look at some of the research that they did over COVID, Gartner again said, actually, when buyers and sellers are interacting, they only spend about 17% of the time when you look at the whole buyer journey, right? So you have a buyer journey that's like 0 to 100, and buyers get to about here towards the end of the process before they involve a salesperson, and then salespeople only get 17% of the time. Now you have to think about it. A buyer at any given time will consider maybe 3 to 4 different vendors, which gives you like 4 to 5% of that entire time to actually have an impact. So we have to think about how we're structuring the conversations and the interactions to have big influence in that really small window of opportunity. And then from here, there was some really interesting research done by the team that brought us the Challenger sale. So Dixon McKenna found that even when companies say, let's go ahead, let's do it, there's still this indecision that they fall into, and that's like 50% of the time. They will say, yes, I'm gonna go ahead. Then they're like, I actually have a fear of messing up. I prefer to just stick with the status quo. So knowing that, we have to find out, how do we de-risk that feeling? How do we remove that fear of making a mistake? And it's hard when we don't get that much time. They don't really want to spend time clarifying their needs with us, and they're doing most of the things on their own. And then the next thing that I find really interesting, so 2 things. Gartner is saying that by 2025, most sales interactions are going to be digital. So people are going to be spending up to 500K online without you. And then on the other flip side of it, we've got G2, who are doing their buyer trends research and are finding almost every single Fortune 500 company goes on their website, which is a kind of technology and services comparison website, to search for solutions. So they're going to be searching for your solution, spending most of their time researching your solutions without you. They don't want the salespeople involved, then they're going to buy it digitally. So then you start to think about, so what is the role of the salesperson and the go-to-market team? So how do we make ourselves viable and worthy in that landscape? And then we start to look at, okay, so what else is happening? Well, what buyers are saying, and Korn Ferry found this again in a similar research, they said, if you are seen as a trusted partner or a trusted advisor, then I feel like I can engage you in my buying journey and understanding earlier on. And you're going to increase your chances of winning my business by about 20%. But that's if you can be trustworthy and a trusted partner. Other research that I'm seeing that I'm quite interested in as well is some research being done by McKinsey. So they have this report called the State of Organizations. It's like top 10 priorities that are top of mind for organizations. And one of those is operational efficiencies. And as we know, over the last 3 to 5 years, we're seeing a lot of the focus of operational efficiencies is shrinking teams. So they're trying to take the people out of the equation so that they can make more money. Effectively, people are the biggest cost in an organization. So with that, you have people who we're trying to sell to, these buyers that have role expansion. They have more responsibilities because their teammates no longer in their team. So they have to do more things, and we're coming to them saying, hey, look at this really interesting thing, and why don't you go and buy this and check this out? And they're like, I don't even know if I'm responsible for this anymore. I don't know if this is a decision that I can make. And then to add a level of complexity to that, we think about the research that's done by everyone around how many people are in a decision-making unit. And a company called Segment said, well, there's about 7.1, it's like a fraction of a person, but there's about 7 people in a decision-making unit who are there to say, okay, I want to have a role in making this decision. Now, what we're finding is there's more senior level executives coming down into that because Again, marrying up with the data, if their teams are shrinking and there's higher staff turnover, then the senior leaders who are often at companies longer don't want to be left with a decision that's been made by someone who's about to leave the organization or may leave in a foreseeable future. So they're getting involved in it. So again, when we think about our go-to-market teams, what are we doing to enable them to even have those senior level discussions? Because when the CFO and the CTO and the CEO come into the room, like, can we even engage in a dialogue with them? And then the one thing that kind of amplifies all of this is it's actually much harder right now to do the jobs that we've been doing. For me personally, it goes back to sales fundamentals, but a lot of people who started their career just before or around COVID, where sales was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Everybody needs technology and all these services and they need help. Now, some research coming out of Insight Partners has found that you have to do 5x the amount of work to produce the same result. So where you could make, as an example, 10 calls and get an opportunity, you now have to make 50 calls to do the same thing. So there's a lot changing in the buyer landscape that we have to take note of and adapt our go-to-market teams to in order for us to be successful.